Hello and welcome to round 2 of Wayports Racing League Season 2, the Aston Grand Prix in Live for Speed. I'm Peter Butcher, and joining me in the commentary box today, once again, it's Adam Brown. Good afternoon, Adam.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here again for round 2. Going to be an amazing round here at Aston Cadet. It's a massive change of scenery from what we saw last time out, but it's a very interesting track with some great challenging corners on it.
Yep, couldn't have said it better myself. Last time out, we were at Kyoto. We were at Kyoto Ring National Reverse. Today, we are at Aston Cadet in Live for Speed. A very, very short lap, Adam. Less than a minute, we're expecting the times to be almost. This is part of the 10-round season that is part of Division 1 of Wayports Racing League Season 2. And you can see that it's quite a dense calendar, one race every weekend until July 10th. Anyway, back to the action today. What have we got in store? We are, let's take a look at the track.
Yeah, Pete, I think you're a bit optimistic in saying less than a minute. I think we're expecting the fastest times to maybe dip into the 1 minute 04s. It's still an incredibly short track. These are slow cars, so to be able to do the lap that fast is really saying something. It's only a mile long.
Yeah, 1.9 kilometers, 1.1 miles. Probably a little bit optimistic. Yeah, you're right, Adam. And there are a lot of challenging corners, especially the first hairpin and then the little chicane. And then the big sweeping downhill section, which is always exciting for the viewers, especially if we get two cars going side by side there. 10 minutes of qualification is underway right now, and we're going to have a 20-lap race around this little track in the XFG. Adam, why don't you tell us a little bit about the car?
Yeah, XFG is one of the best kind of learner cars. You know, it's very simple to race with. It's a front wheel drive, which is always quite simple, very easy to get the hang of, and it's got a little engine that produces 115 brake horsepower. It's perfect for creating some great racing.
Yeah, especially around a short track like this. It might be relatively slow, but it's certainly a handful when you chuck it over the curbs and down the chicane at Aston Cadet. Enough talk about stuff. Let's head to the action. Who's topping the times in qualifying, Adam?
So we've already had Santiago from Strings pop in a 1:07.2 right at the top of the timing sheets. But in practice, we've seen, I believe, Andy from Strings and Ian from Bundles, also Mariano from Interlink France, of course. I think they all dipped into the 104s, 105s in practice, so we should see these times improve as the session goes on.
Yeah, it's been the story of Wayports Racing League so far that these drivers, they do improve as the session progresses. Obviously, it's not a very powerful car, so it does take a little bit of time for these tyres to warm up, and also for the drivers to get their eye in between sessions, because the wind changes between sessions, of course, so we have that little bit of dynamicism that the drivers have to cope with. So Mariano, topping the timing sheets at the moment with a 106.5. Santiago is only a tenth behind. But one driver we certainly expect to improve, Andy from Strings, currently P7. He did 411 laps of practice in the practice session on Thursday. 411 laps around this technical track. That is a lot of practice.
Indeed, it is. I can't imagine how many hours that is, but he's making sure to learn the track and make sure he's comfortable with the car around here. So even if he doesn't pull out a good lap in qualifying, he should be incredibly consistent in the race. So he'll be definitely one to watch out for.
Yeah, I just crunched the numbers, Adam. If you're interested, it's about 8 hours of practice. If you average like a 1:10, and that's excluding outlaps, of course. So that is a staggering amount of practice for the racing today. So we do expect Andy to improve, as he does, in fact, go up into P3. I think he did a 1:04 in practice, so maybe he'll be able to get down to those sorts of times. He was the only person in the 1:04s in practice, so we do expect him to shave maybe a couple of seconds off that lap if he doesn't get held up in traffic as he goes off there at the exit of the chicane. Not ideal.
Taking a nice bit of well, he almost got into the gravel on the inside there. Not sure if that will have gained him any time. So he's around half a second off Mariano's current provisional pole time. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him here, so he won't be improving.
Let's take a look at the Drivers and Teams Championship while Andy tries to squabble his way through the field. There's only 9 of them on the track at the moment, and they all seem to be together. They have got some space, so they should try and spread out a little bit. They've only got 4 minutes left in the qualifying session. But anyway, let's have a look. So in the Drivers Championship, at the top, it's Mariano for Interlink France, followed by the Esport Alpha driver Bruno. Then it's Andy from Strings, who'll be wanting to make progress through the field. Romano in P4, Ian from Bundles P5, Santiago for Strings in P6. Then it's Martin for Esport Beta, Valentina for Interlink France, Fabrizio for Interlink Brazil, and Eduardo for Interlink Argentina in P10. Over in the Teams Championship, it's a familiar story up the front. We have the Interlink France team leading the way by 5 points ahead of Strings. Then it's the Esport Beta and Alpha teams. Then it's Bundles and Interlink Brazil and Argentina round out our table so far. So yeah, lots of points on offer today. We have most of the teams representing. Interlink France will want to be extending that championship lead, Adam, going into this race.
Yeah, I mean, if Mariano stays where he is, there definitely will be increasing their championship lead. Although Strings have got decent competition, they've got 2 drivers in the top 3, so Mariano better hope that Valentina can get a bit closer to the top.
Certainly. I mean, we're going to go on for a lap with Andy here and see if he can put one together. He is the driver who we expect to do it. He's got a clear track ahead of him, as you can see. He's got no threat from behind. Hard braking down into this tight left-hand hairpin for turn number 1. Nails the apex quite nicely. And then he'll want to run the car over to the left before he chucks it into this first chicane. This is really difficult. It's not very cambered, so the front wheels have to do quite a lot of work. He's got an Interlink Argentina car ahead of him there. Manages to get around. That was Camilla. Now we have a 90-degree left-hander. Really easy to run the car wide out of here, so you have to get it nice and turned in. Perfect there from Andy. He can run onto this AstroTurf. He does. He uses all of the track width before he chucks it into this blind downhill left-hander, which turns into a right-hander. The car will bottom out here, and that's where we should see some spicy action in the race. 1 corner to go. Tight little hairpin, a little bit of camber. You need to get the car right into the apex there for the optimum line. That looked like a nice lap, Adam. Let's see, is this the lap that's going to define the qualifying session? We have 2 minutes to go on the timer. The Interlink Brazil car up ahead of him won't cause any issue because as we go across start-finish, Andy from Strings does a 1 minute 5.69, but not enough to overthrow Mariano just yet.
Yeah, normally clean is fast, and that looked incredibly clean, but obviously Mariano must have been even cleaner, even faster.
And he was, yeah, 0.2 of a second. That's all that separates the rivals from Season 1. As Andy has to navigate this Interlink Brazil car there. That is the number 19. That's William. Will William give him the space? Yes, he does. So Andy really is on a charge here. He's leaving quite a bit of rubber on the road, trying to get the car turned in. So didn't have the right balance. Here comes Mariano up to the start-finish line, Adam. Can he improve?
I don't think it's going to be an improvement on this lap, but it looks like he's prepared well for this lap coming up, and he's got a nice wide entry onto the start of the lap, using all of the curb into the hairpin and running it out really wide on the exit. That's a really good line around there.
Yeah, it's really interesting comparing the onboards from Mariano and Andy as Mariano runs super wide. Mariano seems to be extremely smooth on his turn-in, and sometimes, as you just saw, that can really catch him out because sometimes he doesn't put enough lock on early enough in the corner. So he's going to abort this run and he's going to set up for one more, I think. Whether he makes it round in time is another thing. He's only got 25 seconds. That should be enough. He does need to get the hammer down if he wants to get across start-finish for another run. He might run out of time here, Adam.
It looks like he will. He's only got 15 seconds to make it to the line. Yeah, if he hadn't have slowed down, if he had gone flat out to the end, he might have made the lap.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough. So that's it for Mariano. We have to pay attention now to Andy to see whether this lap that he's currently on is good enough to take pole position. We don't think Santiago. Oh, Santiago's close. Don't take anything away from Santiago. He's only 400ths behind Andy. But
Santiago's lap this time around doesn't look as fast.
I've just seen Andy's number plate, 411, the number of laps of practice he did. Bit of a show off. Let's see. And he does. He gets pole.
Obviously, the practice paid off. He made that made 2/10 behind into 2/10 in front, so a massive improvement on this last lap.
He did that exactly when he needs to. Let's see, can Santiago do what he needs to do? He's going into the pits. He is going to abort that run. I think the only car remaining is Eduardo. Ian hasn't improved. Eduardo, here he comes. Let's see if he can improve. He's P6 at the moment, Adam.
Taking a wide line and crossing the line. Obviously not a fast lap. And yes, no improvement there. That was an exciting qualifying session right at the end there. Andy pulled it right out the bag just as he needed to.
Absolutely did. And we can get a rundown of the full qualifying order now. Such a short lap. So yeah, really quick end to the qualifying session, but exciting nonetheless. Andy just about, well, he left it as late as possible, didn't he? As late as he could to get that lap in. Let's take a look at the qualifying results for this session. Andy from Strings with a 1:05.29, 2/10 ahead of Mariano in the end. Those 411 laps of practice coming good in the end. Santiago, Andy's teammate, in P3. Ian for Bundles, P4. Felipe for Interlink Brazil in P5. Then we've got Eduardo for Interlink Argentina in P6. Valentina, Mariano's teammate, in P7. William for Interlink Brazil in P8. And Camilla, the season newcomer, in P9 for Interlink Argentina with a 1:32.8. That's quite a way off the pace of the front guys, so could see some drama there under some lapping later on, Adam.
It is indeed quite a way off. We did see her being run over quite a few times in that qualifying session, so hopefully manages to stay out of the way in the race. Quite often a blue flag in Live for Speed is quite often a blue flag is something that you don't necessarily have to get out of the way for, but it's courtesy, and it's, you want to move out of the way for that.
Yeah, so Andy has a big challenge on his hands. Mariano is going to be very motivated to get past into Turn 1. Turn 1 is quite wide. The apex is quite narrow, so Mariano will have quite a lot of choice going into T1. He'll have enough time to gain a small slipstream off Andy off the line, and we've seen botched starts in WRL before, so Andy really needs to nail that start because Mariano is going to be pretty motivated to get past Adam.
It is only a small rundown into Turn 1, but even still, if you have a bad start, you can leave space on the inside or the outside, and you can make a move into Turn 1.
He absolutely can make a move into Turn 1, and making a move into Turn 1 is exactly what he's going to want to do. Yes, so the 9 drivers that we have here at the moment plunging down into Turn 1 in just a few moments' time. We will be going for a short break before the race begins. But yeah, this is certainly a good racing prospect. We've got the 2 leading teams, Strings and Interlink France, really, really close on the qualifying table. But look out for Valentina. Valentina really needs to make progress through the field to score maximum points for her team, because otherwise Strings may start to make gains in the team's championship, Adam, and take over into round 3. Don't go anywhere. We'll be going for a short break, and we'll be back for the start of the 20-lap race around Aston Cadet. Hello and welcome back to round 2 of Wayports Racing League Season 2. You're watching Division 1, the Aston Grand Prix, round 2 of the championship. Adam, the qualifying session was really interesting at the end, and we are set for a really awesome race. So Andy just about managed to get ahead of Mariano in the end by 0.2 of a second. Santiago, Andy's teammate, will line up on row 2 alongside Ian from Bundles. Felipe for Interlink Brazil will line up on the 3rd row next to his arch rival Eduardo from Interlink Argentina. Valentina for Interlink France and William for Interlink Brazil on row 4, and Camilla alone on row 5.
Yeah, Andy from Strings pulled it right out the bag, right at the end. Very good performance from him. Obviously, doing a bit of sandbagging earlier in the session, trying to get Mariano, lull him into a false sense of security, just as we go to the grid.
Yes, so we are ready for the start of the race, and the drivers are all ready, lined up. As we see Andy from Strings there on the front row. He'll want to get a great launch. Here come the lights. We are green for round 2, Andy gets a great start. Look at that. He's already pulled a little bit of a gap over Mariano, but Mariano will be trying to get that line down into the inside into turn one.
You have to watch out from alongside him as Santiago tries the cutback, and there's a bit of contact there, and he's gone round, been sent right into the gravel.
Santiago's gone off, so that's bad news for Strings. Mariano and Andy have kept it clean as Ian is trying to gain places. He's already got damage on his car again, rear track damage. We saw that in round one, and yeah, he's not going to be having much fun this race with that, especially down the big chicane we've got. Andy, perfect start. Then Mariano, yeah, he's going to need to make gains as quickly as he can, staying in the slipstream of that car. Eduardo's run wide. Oh, and it's almost swiped across the front of Valentina. But Valentina, currently the best starter. Oh, more contact as we head down the chicane. Yeah, Valentina's had to go wide. We've got more contact, further contact behind.
William had to watch out for a slow Eduardo, and I think two lines converged there. Was very unlucky, but going too wide into that chicane is not something that you really want to be trying. So kind of turned out how one would expect, but as you said, Andy, what a brilliant start. He's already got a second worth of a lead.
Yeah, Ian's going for a move on Valentina, I think, into the first hairpin. Valentina will have her mirrors full of Santiago and Ian. Santiago went off at turn one on lap one and will want to be making gains through the field as well. But yeah, Valentina exactly where she needs to be at the start of this race and needs to focus ahead. Doesn't want to worry about Ian and Santiago in her mirrors. Let them two squabble and focus on your own race. But yes, Andy's already pulled that gap over a second, nearly 2 seconds in a lap and a half, Adam.
Yeah, it's that practice. It's that 4-1-1. You know, Mariano does do quite a bit of practice as well, but obviously not as committed to it as Andy. It's a lot of time spent on going around doing laps. But Santiago behind, not able to make any moves on Ian, but people have gone wide. Valentina's gone wide out of the exit of the final proper corner, turn 7. And Santiago's looking to make a move on Ian into turn 1.
Yeah, Valentina kind of threw that away a bit. It is quite easy to go wide there, especially if you carry a little too much overspeed. Here comes Santiago thinking about a move up the inside of Ian. Didn't quite work that time. The two Bundles teammates in P3 and 4. That's great. Considering the start that they had, it wasn't ideal, but Santiago will be wanting to get past Ian as quickly as possible, and Valentina will be ruining her mistake a little bit. Let's ride on board with Santiago as he heads into this tricky middle section of the lap.
Yeah, this is where, if you're going to be faster than someone, most likely faster through the chicane and the final corner, and you want to set up a move into the first hairpin, it's the only real overtaking opportunity you have here. You see, Ian's got a reasonable gap, so maybe you won't have to worry this time around. Yeah, Santiago runs it wide.
Yeah, it's a great exit for Ian, and that's going to give Valentina a little bit of a run, maybe. Remember that the drivers have to make a pit stop during this race as well. That plays into it, and indeed, Valentina, great run out of the final corner this time. And there we go, the move made across start-finish. Valentina up to P number 5. William has made his pit stop and is exiting in front of these two.
I believe this makes William a whole lap behind.
Yep.
Because he had a damage stop, and that normally takes up quite a bit of time. And as this is such a small circuit, you know, it's cost him.
Valentina's gone off again at the chicane, really wide line, and Santiago's going to be side. In fact, Santiago's ahead as we head into the middle section of the lap. So Valentina dropping down again. Those two look like they're going to be squabbling all race long at this rate. Meanwhile, at the front, Andy has pulled a 2-second gap on championship leader Mariano for Interlink France. And Mariano really needs to get the hammer down. He needs to find the places where Andy is weak and strike where he can. But yes, the gap at the front is just steadily going up. The two Bundles teammates are in a little bit of a bubble of their own, as we've got Santiago squabbling with the back marker. That's Camilla for Interlink Argentina. Cross start finish we go. Valentina's going to have to do the same, and has.
Yeah, Santiago will be quite angry that Ian's got away. He's got to make sure to make these next few laps clean. Of course, Ian we've seen him with this damage have quite a lot of tire issues in round one, and well, Santiago will be hoping the same thing happens today.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Adam. As we see Andy rounding the final corner for the end of lap 5, that we're a quarter of the way through the race. He's run wide. He's on the grass. You don't want to do that. You lose so much time up the straight when you do that. And that will be a sight that Mariano will want to see more often, perhaps, throughout this race. The gap will have come down, maybe even by as much as a second. Let's see. We get an update across the line. It has 1 second the gap again.
Yeah, Mariano had quite a fast lap that time around as well. He is very close to Andy now. Not close enough to make a move, but Andy's mirrors will be full of this Interlink France car.
Yeah, and just by running wide there, Andy lost 1.5 seconds in the gravel. So it really shows how much time you lose by running wide there. It's uphill, and if you're on the grass and not on the tarmac, you're just going to struggle to get out. This car doesn't have a lot of power, so you have to be on the grey stuff. That's where you want to be. Down this brilliant downhill chicane really is awesome in any of the cars in Live for Speed, the simulator that the drivers are using for Wayports Racing League. And Andy runs a bit wide again. You can see Mariano took that tighter line. Andy's dropped a wheel on the grass again. Here is Mariano's chance to strike. You've done it twice in a row, Andy. You're playing with fire there. Side by side, the two championship leaders come across the line. Andy does have
the preferred inside line. He's pushing him right to the edge. Andy with a really nice line, but he puts it in deep. Mariano's going to go for the cutback. Still too wide going into this second corner. Again, Andy with the inside line. And right in front of them, they've got a back marker. Just got to worry about that.
Yeah.
Luckily, gets out of the way.
Yeah, the back marker moves out of the way of this lead battle. Good awareness, as Andy just manages to keep the lead. This is great stuff for the lead of Wayports Racing League Round 2, the Aston Grand Prix. Yeah, Andy has dodged a bullet, that is for sure. Let's see, can he make it clean for the first time in 3 laps as we come to the final corner again? It is such a short lap here, Adam. And yeah, Andy's taken a much tighter line this time and stays ahead for now.
Yeah, I mean, even still, that final corner wasn't as good as Mariano's, but he was being cautious and making sure definitely not to do what he did on the laps before. And yeah, back to the status quo in terms of lap times, sort of 106s. So we'll see if Andy starts to break away again. Could be a possibility, because if he curbs these mistakes, Mariano's got doesn't have any pace to respond to Andy's times.
While we were watching that, I think Ian may have made an error, because Santiago has popped up into P3. Santiago, after being in the gravel, there's a back marker getting in the way of Santiago there. Santiago was in the gravel at turn 1, so he's made up a large number of places. He's back up to P3, which is right where he wants to be for the team's championship. And still with damage on that car. I wonder when that car is going to come in the pit lane. Speaking of the pit lane, let's see if Andy decides that this is his moment to come into the pits. Shouldn't be. He can go as late as he wants in the race. He's currently leading the way. You normally want track position, but we have seen the undercut work in WRL before, where one driver pits first and the other driver overtakes the lead by pitting later, or vice versa. Either strategy can work. That gap is holding about the same.
Andy just set a 104.7, which is faster by a long shot than any of the times we saw in qualifying. And Mariano set a PB behind him with a 105.11. So these guys are going incredibly fast. Yeah,
they really are pushing. You have to remember, as Ian and Santiago swap again, I think Santiago's had a real issue, because at turn 1, both of the Bundles teammates have got past him, so possibly ditching it in the gravel again. Sorry we missed that, but yeah, Santiago's having trouble again. What was I saying? Yeah, so the pace of the top 2, really, really great to see. And that gap again has come down, Adam.
As we have Camilla in the pits.
And also Andy.
Andy in the pits as well.
Yeah, that's quite early. I was going to say the reason for the fast lap times is probably because we've been out driving for just over 10 minutes, so the tyres are up to temperature as Andy makes his pit stop. This is the time for Mariano to put his foot down as we have Santiago and Felipe going at it. Santiago for strings and Felipe runs wide and onto the grass, and that's the position lost.
Mariano will be hoping that he can stretch a gap now that he doesn't have Andy in front of him. Quite often when you've got someone right in front of you, some drivers like it, but it puts some drivers off. So Mariano might be one of those drivers who likes a bit of clean air.
Yeah, it looked like a quick stop for Andy. He isn't that far behind. We'll get that updated gap at the line. So his stop was a little bit longer than we might expect, actually, just over 3 seconds. So Mariano may take over the lead. We're hearing that Andy put in 8% of fuel at his stop.
Yeah, that will have cost him maybe 2 or 3 seconds stopped in the box. Of course, if Mariano's taken a full tank, that would explain why he's been maybe a few tenths off every lap. And of course, you've got to remember that this pit lane is very small, so it may look like Andy's gap to the front is quite small, but you know, the pit lane will only cost you about 10 seconds.
Andy's teammates decided now is the time for him to pit. I wonder if he's going to repair that damage. That's an interesting line into pit lane there. Across the grass. The groundskeeper won't thank him for that as he pulls into his box and he's repairing damage. So that's going to be a long stop for Santiago.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if Ian decides to repair his damage when he pits. Because if he does, if he ticks that damage box, that's going to take him a while as well, considering the amount of damage he's got on the rear of that car.
Yeah, Mariano taking a very wide line through this little kink here. You want to be over to the left because that's the line of least resistance. We ride on board with him down into turn number 1. That's Camilla for Interlink Argentina up ahead in the gravel. Doesn't want to get in the way. And Mariano finds a way through.
Santiago from Strings on the inside there, leaving pit lane, being awfully courteous, letting Mariano go, even though if he had come out in front, it might have given his teammate a bit of an advantage. In the back, we're hearing that Valentin has just got past Felipe as he's run a bit wide in the final corner. But Felipe will be looking to make a move back into turn 1, maybe. Will he decide to go for the inside line? No, he decides to stay behind.
Yeah, Valentina got spooked a little bit, went quite wide, just about manages to get the car, keep the car on the road. I think Felipe grabbed a gear too low as he came out of turn 1 there, lost a lot of speed, but Valentina, good move.
Yeah, she's been putting in some fast laps. These bundles guys, a bit slower than her, but obviously it's a bit harder to make a move than maybe we would have thought around this track.
Valentina really needs a podium. If Valentina could get a podium today, that would be fantastic for the team's championship and good for her. Give her a bit of a boost as well in the season. She hasn't had the greatest of results recently, so it'll be really nice to get a solid result today. Andy is not
we have just missed, I'm sorry to interrupt, we've just missed Mariano going to the pit lane and he has come out right in front of Andy.
Okay, sorry we missed that. Mariano's pit stop was a second quicker, and yeah, because Andy wasn't really gaining on him during the lapping, this is the result as Andy runs wide. So Mariano has really done a good job here. Good pit stop strategy, really quick stop. Andy has just cost himself time with that longer pit stop and now has to overtake Mariano on the track.
Well, Andy he'll be really annoyed, maybe at himself for maybe not taking enough fuel at the start. I don't know why he would need to refuel during this race, but obviously a big error was made there because it's cost him a possible win here. It depends if he can gain on Mariano at all.
We saw one of the bundles cars spearing into the wall. That's Felipe. A little bit of contact through the downhill chicane. So that's bad for Felipe as we still see Valentina trying to get past Ian. Valentina has already made her stop And sorry, Valentina has not stopped, and neither has Ian. So these two still to come down the pit lane. But yeah, this battle will go to the wire. This is the battle for the podium, Adam.
Yeah, for the final step on the podium. Yep. Of course, most of the drivers in this battle have not pitted, but Santiago has, and he's quite far behind these guys. As we see, yeah, Andy.
Yeah, Valentina cut the corner slightly to try and to get that move on Ian, but for now it's been done. Valentina's picked up some rear damage, and that is going to hurt. That is really not going to be helpful. You can see the rear right of Valentina's car there with a little bit of damage on it. It's been pressed in, and you can already see that that's starting to affect the way that that car is handling. Ian goes for the move up the inside. This could be, oh, yeah, that's going to force Valentina wide. That is, this is chess happening right here. As one of the backmarkers
looks like Valentina and Ian decide to go into the pits. Ian obviously saw that in his mirrors and decided that he's not going to risk her getting an undercut.
Oh, as Valentina takes a cheeky line into the pit lane to get that little bit of overspeed and picks a box. Will it be a quick stop? No, Valentina's repaired damage. That's got to be an error.
Yeah, Ian's decided to not do anything in his pit stop, and he's already on his way. Yeah. He's going to be out in front of Santiago
Change for the lead, Adam. Change for the lead into the final corner. It's all going off here in Wayports Racing League Season 2. Andy into the final corner has retaken the lead. There is a back marker in the way as they both get past. It's really nice of the back marker there. But yes, Mariano, he did everything he needed to in the strategy in the pit stop. And he's going for the move again into turn one. Andy's gone a bit wide, and they're still side by side. There's contact, and he didn't give him any room there at the apex. But is that the move for the race, Adam?
Yeah, it was a very bold attempt by Mariano, but yeah, Andy obviously has a bit of a pace advantage, and if he keeps this next five laps mistake free, Mariano's not going to be able to respond. As we see already, the gaps around, 3/4 of a second to Andy in front.
Yeah, as Mariano goes very, very, very aggressive into that downhill. Eduardo's gone in the pit lane. He is P3 on the road at the moment, but we do expect Ian. Yeah, Ian's gone through, and also Valentina to go through. Valentina's now battling with Santiago, Adam.
Yeah, I was thinking that Santiago would have gotten ahead because of Valentina's damage repair, but I am forgetting that Santiago also chose to repair damage, as they have a bit of contact under the braking zone for that corner.
Yeah, Santiago is getting very familiar with that turn one gravel track this race. He's been in there about 3 or 4 times already, and it's not over yet. Santiago, again, very wide. But yeah, Valentina did squeeze him off the road slightly into the brakes to turn one.
They've also got to start worrying about Andy and Mariano behind him coming around to lap them. Of course, as this is a very small track, there's going to be a lot of lapping. I wonder if Andy can lap the whole field before the end of this race.
Don't think he'll be lapping Mariano anytime soon, Adam, but yeah, it will be close for the rest of them. Mariano's, yeah, it's often easier to chase someone when you're racing, but when the guy ahead has the pace advantage, it's sometimes extremely frustrating as well. Andy has done enough this race. He's got past Mariano on the track twice already, so he shouldn't really be worrying about what's going on in his rearview mirror. He really needs to focus ahead and get those laps that we saw in qualifying and also at the earlier stages of this race. He has still got the fastest lap, so let's see. Can he just keep these last few laps clean as he's coming up to lap his teammate?
Yeah, Mariano was a few tenths faster on that lap, though. Obviously, looking at Andy's lines and learning off of them. Even in the race, you can gain knowledge and gain time from people in front of you. Santiago goes wide to let Andy through, and Mariano,
yeah,
very polite.
Stuff. They'll only be going through this downhill chicane twice more in this race, and Mariano needs to strike at some point if he wants to get the win.
Yeah, Mariano lost a bit of time on that exit there. Andy's obviously very strong in this final sector when he doesn't run it wide onto the gravel.
Yeah, he
Got
will have
another.
probably drilled it out of himself that he has to focus on that last corner, make sure he doesn't carry too much speed, because that is where he lost the place to Mariano earlier in the race. As Mariano later on the brakes, earlier
Out
on
in
the
front of
throttle
them,
pickup.
Valentino goes very wide. This is a person lapping a lapped car and another lapped car.
Yeah, all those cars have spooked Andy, and Mariano's going to get this place. So all of that lapping happening has just spooked Andy a little bit, and Mariano's got through. This is drama in the final 2 laps here, and Andy doesn't want to drop back any further than that because there's not a lot of time left. Wow, I did not expect that.
Andy may only have one more chance to make this move, and it's coming up way too soon for him. He does not have a close enough gap up in front to make any sort of move. Pushing it very hard into this final corner. That was a good job from him, but he's still not close enough.
He's done the most practice. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He is the fastest driver here today, but consistency from Mariano is what has paid dividends for him. We've got 1 lap to go. This is the battle for the lead in round 2. Mariano leading the championship. Andy absolutely needs a race win at this early stage of the championship to send a message to Mariano to tell him that I'm here, I'm going to fight you to the end. And he's got to get past on this lap. He's only got 4 or 5 corners to go. That's a good line. Mariano going quite wide, and this is as close as it gets, folks.
Andy will be looking to make a move into probably the final corner. He's fast in that final corner, and he just runs it wide through turn 4.
Yeah, and just too much power. He needed to be way more gentle on the throttle. He's just spun up the front wheels and run wide, and look at the gap already.
Yeah, Mariano has to be mistake-free. He can be 2 or 3 tenths slow around this final corner as long as he doesn't go wide, and he's done just as he needs to. This has been masterclass of strategy and consistency from Mariano.
As Andy tries to make the last corner as short as possible, but in the end it wasn't enough. Mariano for Interlink France wins round 2 of the Wayports Racing League. It's going to be a little bit of a wait for P3. Currently Ian from Bundles entering the first chicane. So yeah, you weren't too far off, Adam. Those two were really close to lapping almost the entire field. We have to wait quite a while for P3 to come across the line. It's not going to be Valentina by the looks of it today. Valentina's just too far behind. Still in a battle with Santiago though. But yeah, Andy, that is going to hurt, I think, today. So much practice and so much pace, but in the end, just undone by tiny errors that could have been avoided. And yeah, but you know, every single race you do, every single lap you do in racing really helps you going forward. So if Andy can keep up this level of commitment, I'm sure we're going to see him winning in races to come. Here comes Ian in that battered car. He decided not to repair the damage at the pit stop, which meant that yeah, his strategy paid off. He gets Bundles onto the podium. Valentina will take P4 as we have a few more results coming in. But yes, Valentina will take P4. That's a good result for her. She'll be happy. Santiago, maybe not so much after spending quite a lot of time in the gravel this race. Maybe taking gravel tips from Eduardo. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I don't know. Looks like Camilla's going very slow in the pit lane, and she has not finished the race. I don't know what's going on there. If she doesn't get the car moving, she's gonna get a DNF.
Okay, yeah, that's strange. I mean, that car must have been stationary in the pit lane for quite a while. It's a long lap. Maybe does she realise she hasn't finished? I don't know. But anyway, we will have to wait and see because yeah, we need to classify the results. So maybe Camilla can get a wriggle on, so we can. There we are. Yeah, hopefully she gets classified. So I think we're good to classify this race, Adam. I'm pretty sure Camilla will be classified. So let's have a rundown of the order. So race results for round 2 of Wayports Racing League Season 2 Division 1 winner Mariano once again for Interlink France. He had to work for it seriously hard this time. Andy pushed him to the line, 0.42 of a second, the gap over start finish. And then what seems like a week back to Ian, 1 minute 3 seconds behind the leaders. Valentina, Santiago, Eduardo, Felipe, William, and Camilla finishing a lap down or more. Andy, 1 minute 4.51. That is by far and away the fastest lap we've seen in the last couple of days from these guys. So absolutely stunning lap. Unfortunately, you can't just be fast over one lap, can you, Adam?
Yeah, no, Andy, he will be really annoyed at this, really annoyed at himself. Mariano had a pretty much faultless race, whereas Andy was running a wide. He messed up his pit stop. He'll be annoyed at himself.
We have some drivers awaiting interviews, and we will bring those up in just a couple of seconds' time. Who do you want to talk to first, Adam?
I think be nice to talk to our race winner, Mariano.
All right, we'll do that just now. So, Mariano, you had to work for that one.
Yes, how's it going?
Pretty well, thanks. Yes, so I want to talk about qualifying. Andy, in the dying moments on the final lap, you weren't able to put together that perfect lap today, but Andy absolutely smashed it out of the park. What were your thoughts going into the race? Did you think he had it wrapped up already?
Yeah, I saw his pace, the qualifying pace. I don't know why he wasn't doing his usual lap times. I know he could do 104, so I thought I had to rely a little bit on the traffic, a little bit on the strategy. But yeah, you saw that pace in the race. He definitely had it.
Was your aim for this race just to put the laps and drive consistent and don't worry about beating Andy, just hoping that he'd maybe make a few errors?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I knew I had the consistency. I know Andy has the pace, but I was hoping, sometimes to get the best of him. And you saw some of that. We traded some paint. It was give and go. It was really cool. Yeah, the traffic certainly made it a lot more exciting. I guess more difficult to figure that out. He didn't leave me a lot of room, so I kind of gave that back to him at the end. But that's good. That's racing. We were careful, and it was really close, and I enjoyed it. I just saw him briefly in the waiting room, and I told him I stole that from you, and he was laughing. He certainly had that was his race to lose, basically.
Well, yeah, you say that, but your consistency has been supreme, and I think Andy got a little bit spooked by the back markers I think it was the penultimate lap. I think Valentina was there and a couple of the
Right.
bundles cars, but you just kept your cool, and sometimes it's about that experience. But if Andy keeps putting in this massive effort during the build up to weekends with these lap counts, he's going to be really challenging you for these wins.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I mean, that's exactly what what we enjoy, and I'm really glad to see in this track a lot of the other drivers really close. I hope we can keep that because it makes everything more interesting. Yeah.
Congratulations, Mariano, on your second win of the season. And what are your thoughts going into round 3?
Thank you. Yeah, round 3. I haven't even looked at the calendar yet, but yeah, just more of the same. I hope I can have more time during the week and sort of, be as fast as Andy. I know he's good on that quick hot lap. I just want to get close enough to do what I did today. So that's the plan.
Brilliant stuff. See you next week.
All right. Thanks. See ya.
Thank you. Do you want to chat to Andy, Adam?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. I believe he's waiting for us.
Andy, well, what can we say?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, what a race. I still can hear my heartbeat. It's so thrilling. Excellent. Excellent drive. Anyone there. It was so much fun. And even the second place feels like a win. And Mariano did a very good job. And going for the gap when the gap is there, it's very important to do that. Yeah. Congrats to everyone.
Yeah, Andy, we mentioned a few times that you did what can be described as a lot of practice for this one. So does it sting a little bit that Mariano still managed to pip you in the end?
No, that's no problem. The practicing was very important. So we had that fight for the lead, several laps, yeah. And for that, the second place is a very good position. Yes, it's not all about winning. It's a very good lap time. I have a very good lap time. We had action on the track, and that's the most important thing. Okay, he had the lucky end, but that's no problem.
Well, I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed watching those final few laps where we thought you had it wrapped up, and then it came undone in the end, and Mariano takes his second win of the season. What do you have to do to beat Mariano?
That's a very good question. There will be races I can win, of course. I need to practice like I did this week, and then luck will be on my side anytime it could be.
Yeah, you have to be there. You have to have the pace. You have to do the practice, and you have to have a little bit of luck thrown in as well. So, thank you, Andy. We wish you all the best for round 3. Hopefully, you can get that elusive win in season 2.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Cheers, Andy. Finally, the final man on the podium. Adam, I'll give this one to you. Yeah, let's have a chat with Ian from Bundles.
Ian, good to see you. How did you find that race?
Give Ian a couple of moments to sort his microphone out, and hopefully we can grab a few words from him.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I forgot I was supposed to talk. Sorry, but can you ask that again? Sorry.
Yeah. How did you find that race?
Oh, okay.
Seemed like a pretty hectic one.
Yeah. It was really cool because I finally got to the podium back once again, and it's been a long time that I don't get that third position. But yeah, it was a really fun race because we had lots of drivers with a similar pace. Me, Felipe, and Valentina, and Santiago as well. So we kept switching positions, and yeah, it was really cool to see a lot of drivers with the same pace.
You picked up a bit of damage on the opening lap. Did that affect you, or was it kind of minor damage that didn't really slow you down?
No, yeah, I don't think that it slowed me down. It was. I don't actually know if it was my fault or not because I was driving for the first time with a in car camera, and I kind of lost the sense of space and stuff. So I didn't know if it was my fault, but no, I don't think it affected my car, the ability to drive, but. Yeah, but psychologically totally because I had to take a lot more. I need to be more careful in those turns.
Yeah, certainly didn't look like it slowed you down at all. The pit stop, it looked like you almost won the race in the pit lane. Valentina obviously had a slower pit stop. But did you actively make sure that you had a slow stop? Did you?
Yeah, actually, I today I had enough fuel for the whole race, and I was sure, and so I went to the pit stops, the pit lane, and I saw that Valentina, she was really close to me, and I thought that was the right decision to go to the pits in Lara Pass and try to uh, get a better lap when she was in a pits, so I can get a bit more space to race. And yeah, but she went to the pits as well, and I knew that I got this. I will have a really fast pit stop because I had to set it to refuel just 1%. And yeah, I was really happy that worked.
Yeah, it's certainly made for an exciting race.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the championship? Because this will put you quite high up in the points now.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried to not think about a lot of the championship. Like I'm just trying to get a race after race, and yeah. But I guess Felipe as well had a great position. I think he was fifth place, and yeah, the bundles team as well are gonna get higher in that ranking. Yeah, so looking forward to the next race.
Thank you for that, Ian.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Good to get a chance to talk to you there.
All right, we are just about done here for Wayports Racing League Round 2, the Aston Grand Prix. And yeah, we've been talking a little bit about what's going to happen in the future. A few of the drivers talking about what's coming up on the calendar. And what is coming up on the calendar? Well, we have, West Hill National. So the West Hill Grand Prix. Next weekend, May 22nd at 2 o'clock UTC, the third round of Wayports Racing League Division 1. We hope you enjoyed today's action. We certainly did in the commentary box, didn't we, Adam?
Yeah, that was a great fun bit of racing. Very close, very exciting.
Yeah, great to hear from the drivers as well. We hope you can join us for the next one, the West Hill Grand Prix, next weekend, round 3 of the championship. I've been Peter Butcher. He's been Adam Brown. You've been watching Wayports Racing League Season 2. All the best.
Goodbye.